have all our matches been throughout this day, and as will our next match be. So everything is on the line. They have to, put out all their strategies in this one game if they want to move on, if they want to win the grand prize.
All right, so first band's first pick coming up. Team Alternate over on the left-hand side will have that ability to them. I believe they have a couple of substitutes or potentially ringers, replacement substitute, maybe extra account, something like that. Team Mega Shock, of course, I asked Zupix what happened with Almupo, and he did actually confirm that Almupo actually left the lineup today. So they do have a replacement, and that is in the form of Imber Sheep. So at least if they are going to actually be picking up a replacement, Imber Sheep is a particularly strong player. And we do see two quick bans, Shen and Ari, not necessarily uncommon bans.
That's really surprising to hear that he left them just today. Really surprising and unfortunate. Of course, we saw Elmupo playing in the last game. Did a really great job. Shen ban and Blitzcrank ban early on, and an Ari ban on the opposing side. Of course, trying to take that away from Frelinlord, but he has such a diverse champion, pool that it's going to be hard to ban him out completely. Of course, Orianna has been a big pickup in a lot of these recent tournaments that I've been casting with you, and is big over on the North American side for the first time in a really long time as well.
And we do see a Blitzcrank banned out. So that's an interesting one. Of course, very, very dominant, very difficult champion to deal with in that bottom lane, especially if those rocket grabs can be landed. And interesting to actually see Alternate ban him out. A little while ago, I actually remember casting a game where Alternate ran an Alistair Blitzcrank combination. And they had both of them with Smite, both of them roaming, invading the jungle, playing a roaming ganking game, and playing incredibly, incredibly aggressively. Fizz and Twisted Fate, the last two being removed, and Zyra actually locked in. So I seen Zyra being played yesterday, less than 24 hours after her release, and pro players actually calling her OP right now.
I mean, she is certainly strong. Her snare, can be incredibly effective in team fights. Her ultimate does decent amounts of damage, has such a wide range as well. So yeah, I've heard the same thing, seen a lot of her in solo queue. Tends to be banned out already. It's unusual because, I feel like her setup is, somewhat like Heimer. Her damage, her AP ratios aren't, very, very high, but she does have a lot of consistent damage that she can put out there. Going to be countered, it looks like, by a Morgana. Morgana's a very safe pickup middle lane, regardless of who she is going against. So that would not surprise me. We already do see the Sona pickup. So Sona not banned out and is early picked up, of course trying to be aggressive in that bottom lane.
And of course that Black Shield is going to be so strong against Zyra because all of her abilities, they do have that small channel time or that small casting animation. So it's going to allow all the time in the world to get up that Black Shield. The problem is, of course, it's an AoE. So her E, which is I think entangling roots or something along those lines, is going to be able to lock everybody up for 1.25 seconds at the lowest rank, and it hits everybody in a line. So we've seen a couple of games yesterday where Shirelia's Reverie would be popped, the entire team would dive forward and instantly be locked up for a second, compliments of that single ability. So it's a great counter initiation as well as a great initiating ability as well.
Yeah, right now it looks like they're also lining up Alistar and Graves. I mean, that could be Alistar support or Alistar in the jungle. But the one thing that, this team already has going for them is probably the best level 1 I can think of. I mean, Morgana has a pretty decent level 1 with Dark Binding herself. Sona does a good amount of damage. But Alistar, Pulverize along with the Grasping Roots of Zyra means essentially they could catch the whole team for multiple seconds in CC. So that could certainly be a pretty dangerous invade if they decide to do that. As I mentioned in the pregame chat, in the Raidcall chat server, people were asking, oh, what's the biggest difference between North American play and the European? And I mentioned, it is those level 1 invades are more prevalent over in North America.
And interesting as well, you consider the line AoE that can come out from Pharrell Lord, who'll be most likely be playing Zyra in the middle. You've then got the Dark Binding, which is going to be very strong. And if we actually see Shaco being locked in, those Jack-in-the-Boxes are also very good at low level if you can bait somebody into them, of course.
Yeah, there is that, and generally they're used to take down the camps. It wasn't locked in, as I mentioned. That's a bug that seems to be happening with these custom games. It is swapped to Maokai at the last second. Sometimes it looks like it's locked in, but it is not quite locked in yet. So we see a more standard pickup with that Maokai now, and a Corki down bottom lane. So that's going to be a lot of aggression down there.
Yeah, very, very strong. I like the fact that we've got so much CC from Team Alternate right now. Headbutt, Pulverize. Zyra's got 2 different AoE CCs. And if they pick a jungler or potentially even a support with even more, somebody like a Janna may not even be bad. Alistair in the jungle, Malphite top lane, and then maybe a Janna. There's a lot of strong CC. Malphite and Alistair sort of interchangeable in terms of the jungle, but the top laner has not been revealed yet for Team Megashock. So, who do you pick when you consider there's 10 seconds left on the clock if you think that there's a Malphite and somebody else on board?
Yeah, it is very, very hard. Oh, a Lee Sin. I like that Lee Sin pickup because now they have the option of, sending the different positions top lane. It could be Lee Sin top, could be Malphite top lane. But regardless of that pick, we do see the Rumble coming down. Rumble's so incredibly strong right now. Is, set up to have a nerf, so says Riot. But presently one of the champions that can really match up well against Malphite. But Malphite can also do enough damage to take out a Rumble. We've seen that, a couple of times where Malphite, if built more aggressively, can certainly burst him down at level 6, burst Rumble down at level 6, that is. So it is, it's one of those matchups that can go either way. It really depends on who builds better, who prioritizes more towards early game. I feel like if Rumble, builds that early Haunting Guise, which they're so prone to do, they will get the advantage, especially if Malphite goes towards the more GP10 oriented route. But if they both go with a little bit of AP, a little bit of more tankiness early on in those early levels, the trades could go either way.
Take a look at now the lane matchups that we're going to have. So Malphite Rumble, then it is of course going to be Zyra, Morgana, and then Alistair Graves coming up against Corki Sona. It's very, very aggressive lanes everywhere except that middle lane. The middle lane is going to be a little bit more passive, a little bit more of a farm fest. But once we hit those bigger team fight engagements, there's an interesting amount of synergy. The alternate lineup is going to do very well together. You can the Stranglethorns into a Unstoppable Force, into a Pulverize, for example. Huge amounts of crowd CC, and then very good burst damage as well. On the flip side, you do have, of course, the Equalizer. You've got the Soul Shackles from Morgana, and then a little bit of strangeness, if I can use that. If Steve is able to get off a good crescendo, it's going to allow so much damage from those AoE ultimates of Morgana and Rumble. But if she doesn't, I just feel like Ultimate might be able to just run away from those abilities.
Yeah, it's a possibility. That's an issue with, with Soul Shackles and with Equalizer. You have to get them in after a team is committed, before they've used their escape skills. In particular, Soul Shackles, everyone can just flash away. We'll see a quick draw away. We'll see a safeguard away, so on and so forth. And the same can be said with Equalizer. All you have to do is step, a couple feet in one direction or the other, a couple Teemo units in one direction or the other, to escape that, over time, portion of the ability. But there are locations where it's incredibly effective, namely in the jungle, along those bush routes. If everyone's hiding in a bush and coming up, towards Baron, for instance, from blue side, if you can catch them there, that is a great position to catch them with Crescendo, Equalizer, and even better for the Soul Shackles as well. So obviously, Team Megashock wants battles that are really closely gathered, but Alternate has a great composition for that same purpose as well. And I don't know that I've ever seen a team that has, essentially they have 4 champions that have knock-up abilities. I don't know if that's really ever come to my attention before, because of course, you know, Dragon Rage will knock someone back and can potentially knock other people up. Pulverize, Unstoppable Force, and Stranglethorns all have the potential to knock people into the air, which is in effect a stun, but it just adds that extra animation of people flying, which is incredibly fun.
Yesterday, I managed to catch one of the most amazing first blood kills I have ever seen in League of Legends. It was a composition that fielded Volibear, Singed, and Alistar. Volibear as Singed and Alistar on the same side. Volibear activated his Rolling Thunder, started running towards an enemy Akali. Got very, very near Akali. Akali flashed away to safety, but the second the flash was used, the Rolling Thunder actually landed. So it was able to toss Akali back after the flash. That immediately landed into a Pulverize from Alistar, and while she was mid-air, got tossed backwards, compliments of the Singed. It was phenomenal. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I've just been flicking through the rune pages. Nothing too exciting. Have you seen anything special, Sotere?
No, I looked as well. Did not see anything that really jumped out at me. Pretty much standard across the board. So that is going to be that. We're going to load into the screen, or the skin champion match-off. We'll see who takes it from the early game portion. And yeah, that does sound like a really awesome combination of skills. Volibear, that always does annoy me when the Rolling Thunder goes through flashes. I was like, oh my goodness, I was away. And the other thing is Imbasheep actually plays Volibear, is actually his most played ranked champion. So I was hoping, wishing that we might be able to see that, but no luck this time.
Yeah, not today, not today. In terms of the skin war, pretty clearly in favor of Team Megashock right now. I think Earth Rider, the Festive Maokai, Blackthorn Morgana. Sorry, Acolyte, it's just not good enough to carry your team as far as skins are concerned.
Yeah, certainly not the early advantage to Team Megashock. We'll see if they're able to carry it through. Of course, you know, we have really great early game potential from Team Alternate. Are they going to use that? Are they going to invade? And if there's anyone you want to invade, I mean, you tend to want to invade people that are reliant on blue buffs, so you know where they're going to be. But you also want to invade people who, you know, have interesting setups, like, you know, Shakos, who have to set up their boxes to get really all they can from the jungle. But Maokai has the same sort of, you know, beginning setup where he generally runs saplings early on to get those early camps. Now, whether he gets the early Wraith camp or just takes out wolves, either way, he's using a lot of mana for the purpose of just setting up his camps. Now, he can also use those saplings to protect his team. That only goes so far. Once they've been, you know, taken down, he's not going to throw multiple out into the brushes to ensure that he's not being invaded. So we will see if there's going to be any early aggression. We do have an early pause, which is not quite as exciting as early aggression.
It is not. I'm not going to be able to read the chat. If you've got on good quality, you can see what they're saying. But Team Megashock appear to be ready right now. So once Alternate just throw a thumbs up, we'll be able to get this match underway. And we see the viewer numbers are climbing. Welcome, everybody. This is Alternate Attacks taking on Team Megashock in a best of one for the Fnatic Play Raidcall Cup number 3. And of course, the loser gets to go home and cry to their mother, ask him for help, and cry on their shoulder. The winner is going to advance to tomorrow's best of 3s, which will of course be the semi-final and the grand final. Sotere, there is a small spectator bug that after a pause, you do need to fast forward to real time. So just jump yourself back up to live. That is something we discovered yesterday. But the most recent patch, I was very happy. Riot Games fixed the graphic bug that pops up if you rewind and there's gold on screen. It used to stick in the floating text. That's been fixed, luckily.
That is brilliant. So we do see perhaps some early aggression from Alternate. It's countered by that sapling thrown out by Goats, but Alternate not really being dissuaded as of yet.
Ooh, so
Malphite, you get...
Excuse me, my microphone is muted the entire time. I was just saying the grasping roots on Perella Law. Look at the range on that, and that skill shot is going to be able to lock up everybody on for the range of that. So, level 1, Zyra OP as far as I'm concerned when it comes to invading jungles.
Yeah, I actually was in a game where they had Alistar and we had Zyra, and our Zyra's like, don't worry, my level 1 CC is better than his, which is, you know, a pretty grandiose statement because obviously Alistar's Pulverize is huge in level 1 fights, but the fact that you can land, you know, an AoE CC from such great range as Zyra can means a lot. It means you can actually, you know, lock people up without being in real danger of dying. Whereas once Alistar does it, he's actually in a very, very precarious situation, a very, very precarious spot. So we do see, you know, both teams helping out their junglers, at least then obviously picking up that red first, the blue buff going to goats. There was no aggression. The saplings did ward everyone back. We do see an early ward up top placed down from Team Megashock. So that is always really nice when you can get that early ward up there. Make sure you're not getting ganked at level 2, at level 3.
And take a look at the items. Pink ward, double green ward, and the potion. In fact, it was 3 wards for Alistar. So going for full ward coverage. Really afraid of Maokai. Really afraid of that Twisted Advance and that Arcane Smash. And just trying to make sure that that bottom lane can go in favor of Graves' Alistar as opposed to Corki and Sona. But I must admit, I think the poke, the sustain, and the damage potential of a Corki and Sona is going to be higher than that of Graves and Alistar. But of course, if Alistar gets a good headbutt Pulverize, that could swing things in their favor.
Yes, all bets are off if he gets a good combination there. The burst from Graves, that, you know, initial 2-second burst from Alistar and Graves is certainly unmatched, but the poking damage and probably the consistent damage over the course of a battle likely in favor of the Sona and Corki combination.
And let's have a look at the healing numbers right now. No Triumphant Roar just yet for Alistar, but that's going to be 60 health, and of course the cooldown goes down every time an enemy creep dies. In terms of the healing from Area of Perseverance, that is going to be 40 HP. The mana cost is slightly higher, but of course it does also give that defensive stat buff. A little bit of an engagement here. Anzo and Goats just poking against one another. One pointed to all 3 abilities. Anzo effectively just kicks the tree and then walks away. But I think he's going to try and steal this red buff, compliments of that little bit of aggression.
Yeah, perhaps. He is surrounded by saplings and does get caught out by the Dark Binding.
He's going to get caught out. Kaltard with a very nice Dark Binding into Tormented Soil, but unfortunately not enough ability power, and Maokai is not close enough to land that Twisted Advance, so no first blood just yet. But now that Maokai is taking this red buff, he's got to be very careful. The Sonic Wave into Resonating Strike is going to hit so high. Anzo is in fact going to actually steal that buff away, and now Goat is in trouble. Lands the Twisted Advance, then the Arcane Smash, forced to flash away. If the cube is going to follow up, Resonating Strike onto Anzo means he picks up first blood. Rumble has come down to join this party as well. He's now going to turn the aggression over onto Malphite, and are we going to see a double buff going down? No, Anzo's going to be able to get away from that. So a very nice early invade and a very nice level 3 or so first blood.
Yeah, and a good job by Freljord also following up, making sure that Morgana didn't get there way ahead of time. Now we're seeing a lot of aggression between Malphite and Rumble going down. Neither of them really getting the better of that. Malphite does come out ahead, but then he has no more mana to continue the aggression, so that's not good for him.
Ember Sheep is not drinking his second potion just yet, so in terms of potions, Malphite did start with that additional pot, still 2 in the bank. He's going to be drinking it away, and now that that Flame Spitter is starting to get 1 or 2 extra levels, it's really starting to hit hard. And with no mana on Malphite, he's not going to be able to trade effectively. Ember Sheep has Ignite, lands the Electro Harpoon second, is going to flash forward. Ignite is ticking, 54, 30, 11 is going to go down. Compliments of the healing debuff from Ignite, and a good kill for Rumble.
Yeah, really good kill. It was a little bit unusual. Malphite decided to ground slam in the brush down, and he was all alone, so didn't slow down anyone, didn't slow down the attack speed from Rumble, and wasted that last little bit of mana that really could have helped him get away with the Seismic Shard, for instance. So unfortunate there. Down bottom, we actually see the aggression from that Sona Corki lane has been paying dividends. 43 CS to 22 from Graves.
And Graves has already recalled, is now coming back to lane, so he's picked up that extra Doran's Blade. Morgana in the mid lane has picked up a KG's lucky pick. Etnek eats a tower shot, and it takes a lot more hit points away than I would have thought it would at this level.
Right. I mean, they are only level 4. I was so surprised by how much damage those turrets do at level like 2 and thereabouts, but even at level 4 they have quite a bite. So now Team Megashock going to have to head back in their bottom lane, but they've, you know, they have had a pretty good creep advantage. Unfortunately, I think they waited around a little bit too long. Now Graves is slowly catching up, only about 10 down now, as opposed to being 20 down just a moment ago.
And it's just that power of Sona in that lane. Those power chords are so strong. She's going to be able to move forward and land that Hymn of Valor as well. And it just chunks away way more hit points than you anticipate at these lower levels. So nicely done in terms of Team Megashock. Sheep is going to find himself in a little bit of trouble. No flash available, so he is maybe going to be able to pick up the kill. No ignite, unfortunately. Anzo gets dropped down to 50. And an unfortunate disconnect from Maokai. It's going to lead to the next pause, but good kill on the top lane. If it wasn't for that single point in the shield, Lee Sin may potentially have gone down and given up another kill to Rumble.
Yeah, we do have a disconnect and a pause, but a good job top lane kind of equalizing that top lane just a little bit. Of course, a 300 gold lead still coming down from Alternate, but that is not a very big lead. Of course, picking up the first blood was big. Maokai being behind in his jungle does hurt, is back, the pause is off, but Corki has been doing so much work bottom lane, a surprising amount of work, but only 8 CS ahead right now, which is a little bit surprising. Graves did a really good job catching back up in the meantime while Team Megashock returned to base.
Yeah, so we'll see how if they can carry on. Now that this big wave is in front, are we going to see Etnex and Steve deciding to put additional pressure, deciding to go try to take control of this lane a little bit more? And how effective is Sebastian going to be at farming up this big wave of creeps? There comes the headbutt into a very nice pulverized smoke screen, and the buckshot goes out. And they managed to chunk Corki down 600 hit points. Sona in the blue buff area, after Anzo has stolen away that blue buff, poking just a little bit. And that's a pretty big loss for Team Megashock right now, the fact that Anzo just waltzed in, stole that unchallenged, and walked out of there as a happy camper.
Yeah, no, that's certainly not a great thing for them. I think it would have been donated to Morgana. There are a lot of mid champions that need the blue buff more than Morgana, but whenever you're going to be competing against an opposing mid and they have blue buff and you do not, it means they can spam all of their spells and try to take you down, and Morgana will have to be, pretty defensive, pretty passive with her play, mainly just use Tormented Soil for, insofar as spells go, and won't be able to Black Shield, to her heart's content.
Rumble finds himself in a little bit of trouble, was moving towards the enemy blue buff. He does have his Sorcerer Shoes completed in that single amplifying tome. It's something that we've seen out of Wicked, actually, when he was playing at OGN a couple days ago. So opting to go for that very early aggression, that early spell penetration, and it works really well. I mean, Flame Spitter is extremely high damage. Somebody actually compared it yesterday for me. Flame Spitter, with a little bit of ability power and your overheat bonus damage, is the equivalent of a Fiddlesticks ultimate every 4 or so seconds.
Right. I think that was actually a Rioter that mentioned that on the forum boards. It might have been Freak, actually. Someone just brought that to everyone's attention. It does so much damage. It is just an incredible ability, and people, don't recognize how great penetration, or didn't, previously recognize how great penetration worked well with it, or how great his AP ratios were, but they are, in fact, really incredible.
Yeah, Rumble is also one of my favorite champions to play in the top lane. Sadly, I don't get to do it as often as I would like to. And he does have a couple of champions that can do fairly well against him. In terms of how that top lane is going, it is exactly as you predicted right at the beginning of the game. We see some ability power coming out of Rumble, and we see the GP10s coming out of Malphite. Rumble has recalled to pick up a second amplifying tome, as opposed to maybe saving towards the money for the revolver. And the Philosopher's Stone has been picked up for Malphite. There comes the flash. Very nice pulverize. Beautiful kill from Alternate. That was like poetry in motion. Flash, pulverize, headbutt, followed up with the smoke screen, back shots, and obviously the Sonic Wave resonating strike. Really nicely done in that bottom lane.
Yeah, great showing, and that comes back to the point where Corki and Sona are going to have the advantage in this prolonged poke war, but when it comes down to just burst and who can kill each other in 2 seconds, well, that Graves Alistar combination proves they're very strong. They had Lee Sin waiting in the wings, but he really didn't even need to be there. I think they would have picked up the kill quite handily even without him. That buckshot and collateral damage doing so much damage, so much burst at level 6.
We'll see how this top lane is going now that that second amp tome has been picked up. Rumble really needs to bully Malphite. Oh, there's damage in where? I did not see who took all the DPS. It was Alistair, in fact, but he has managed to get away.
Right.
And
if Rumble push the wave.
If Rumble isn't able to pull ahead and start to dominate that top lane, then he's going to be falling further and further behind. You know, the GP10's ticking over on Malphite. CS is about even, 59 to 65 or 60 to 65. Goat is going to move forward onto Forellan Lord, but takes one tower hit and walks away.
Right, Forellan Lord throwing out those grasping roots, but I haven't seen one land all of the game thus far. So you know, they do move relatively slow, and he actually throws it out again, and thankfully doesn't land, because that is the caster's curse. Whenever you mention that it doesn't land, nothing happens. It looks like Goats is disconnected again. So really great job from Alternate. You know, they throw out Lee Sin throws out a resonating strike on him, or Sonic Wave rather, but doesn't follow up with the Resonating Strike. Asks if he was DC'd, you know, mentions that it seems like it, but then Goats just walks back, so maybe is not disconnected yet. Certainly is just lagging, and is now disconnected. So, unfortunate, you know, happenings from Team Megashock, where their jungler is really having consistent lag problems, and we are going to use the pause.
Alright, so pause is going to be thrown up there. Really good sportsmanship coming out from Alternate. And Anzo, you know, it really does need to be mentioned. Not taking advantage of a situation like that, not picking up the free kill, and realizing there was something fishy there. We have also just spiked in viewer numbers, so welcome everybody. This is the third game of the evening for the Fnatic Raidcall Cup. And we are, of course, watching Alternate Attacks taking on Team Megashock. Following this game, we will be watching Eclipsia versus Millennium, but we do need to get through this match first. The winner's going to make it through till tomorrow evening, the semi-finals and grand finals, which will be best of 3. And there's $1,000 on the line, winner takes all, so pretty decent cash. Calzard is being baited forward. Soul Shackles is going to go out. Black Shield is going to finally go down, but I think that's been burst through already. Anzo is going to eat a Dark Binding to the face, and that may be enough to save Calzard. It's the Sonic Wave. It's going to miss, in fact. Now Anzo is going to flash over the wall. Is not going to be able to land that Tempest or Cripple, unfortunately. Finally, that E does, in fact, land from Forellan Lord, locking Calzard up in place, but no other seeds or no other wards. Rumble is now joined the party a little bit late. The Equalizer is out. A flash from Goats is going to be met with an immediate Dragon's Rage kick. Forellan Lord is going to lose his life for his troubles. And the passive is going to pick up the kill. The passive from Poison Ivy is going to pick up the kill. For anybody that doesn't know, Zyra is going to be able to launch out a line nuke after dying. Deals 374 true damage, and it was enough to pick up the kill onto Calzard. That's what happens when you have a champion that's 2 days old. And that was really, really impressive. Yes. I like that.
Yeah, there is a little bit of delay before you can use that passive, but Calzard didn't even seem to be attempting to move out of the way. I don't know if Black Shield was up, but certainly, I guess that wouldn't even have helped regardless. You know, certainly could have probably tried to move back, hidden away, at least move side to side to attempt to dodge it, but no sale. So the trade ends up going 1-for-1, and Rumble, or rather Malphite, you know, had a lot of pressure off the top lane, and now he's hanging out in bottom. There is a ward in that bottom brush. I'm unaware if they know.
We do see the flash forward into the pulverize, followed up by an unstoppable force. A great crescendo from Steve. Managed to lock up 3 members of Alternate Attacks, but unfortunately, the rapper name of Steve is not powerful enough to stop Alternate from picking up those kills. And is this going to open up Dragon? If Alternate can pick up a Drake off this, extend that 500 gold lead to 1,500, maybe they can start to snowball this game. But the ganks so far have been very, very good.
Yeah, certainly. And really, you know, there have been some ganks coming down from Enso, but really just great play from Alistar, setting up those kills. That flash into headbutt, or into pulverize rather, and then a headbutt backwards, just puts people so far out of position. We just see a Dark Binding landing on Forellan Lord. Calzard, you know, cannot be aggressive as Unso is just sitting there in middle lane along with them. Along with Forellan Lord, that is. You know, so far, you know, pretty good play coming down from Forellan Lord on that Zyra, but there hasn't been anything amazing that so far I've been like, oh, that is incredibly OP. You know, the gank on Morgana, eventually they picked up a kill, but he had to die first, and really couldn't burst Morgana down through that Black Shield, unfortunately.
And of course, the fact that Zyra is not necessarily a DPS AP mid, those little saplings and those little seeds, they do deal fairly decent damage if given the time to do so, but the scaling on the AP is not necessarily that very high, and it relies so much on positioning. The way I've been seeing Pharrell Lord actually play that champion, though, has not been in that case. Unzo is going to meet Coutard, eats a Dark Binding and the Tormented Soil to the face. Now Coutard is setting up for a good Soul Shackles. Twisted Advance is going to come out. Immediately Pharrell Lord's going to dive away. Unzo somehow managing to get away with his life. Morgana's going to be the first one to fall down. Pharrell Lord is now very, very low, and the fact that there's overheating on Rumble means he gets taken out. Goats will pick up a kill on his way out, but he's probably going to go down at the moment, using that passive to gain a little bit additional life points. But unfortunately, Alternate just a little bit better coordinated, and the CC just a lot stronger in that top lane.
Yeah, I don't know that Unzo actually had to dive in there, did decide to, did get a pick up a kill, but traded his life for it in exchange. But yeah, really great fight from Alternate, and really what it was, you know, they knew there was aggression coming in top lane. Team Megashot kind of showed their hound. Goats was hanging out in that top lane, hanging out with Rumble. It was very clear that they were pushing back to the tower. Morgana went missing, and then Pharrell Lord followed almost immediately, and Unso was already on his way up there. So really good job counter ganking, being ready to counter the aggression that was planned from Team Megashock. And yeah, everything seems to be going pretty well for Team Alternate this game. 8-3. Only about a 2,000 gold lead, which isn't huge, but Graves has at least caught back up in farm in that bottom lane. Rumble not very far ahead of Malphite, and of course Malphite running those 2 GP10 looks like he's going to be building towards an Abyssal Scepter as well, so he'll be very, very strong once he picks that up. Especially we'll be able to, you know, trade even better with that Rumble once he picks up his first big ticket item. And it looks like Rumble very slowly working towards a Rylai's Crystal Scepter, so not going with that Haunting Guise, which we have seen from Wicked as of late, but instead going for the bigger ticket items first.
And I like it. Take a look at the farm right now. For Eleanor and Zyra, 145 CS to the 130 on Morgana. It's not often you see a Morgana out-farmed in the middle lane. But of course, for Eleanor has been ranking up those Grasping Roots. And take a look at how this actually plays out. Grasping Roots, the length of the skill shot is almost enough to hit the entire wave. And of course, she keeps tossing out that Deadly Bloom, which acts in a similar manner to Cassiopeia's Noxian Blast. A small delay after casting it. If there are any seedlings on the map, it will of course sprout that Heimerdinger style turret which deals DPS. If the seedling gets hit by those Grasping Roots, it instead creates a vine which applies a slowing effect. So slightly less damage but slightly more utility for anybody that maybe doesn't really know how Zyra works.
And so we do see Zyra taking it down that middle turret, and that has been a function of just pushing on pretty aggressively the entire game. And Morgana is considered the champion that pushes other people out of lane, pushes that lane up and forces them out, but if you can push faster than Morgana, she actually has more issues.
Huge engagement in the bottom line. Crescendo goes out. Now we see the Alistair pulverized headbutt combo. Lee Sin may be the first one to die in the background. While that's going on, Steve is going to go down in the middle lane. So it ends up being a 1-for-1 exchange. Steve gets away almost with 40 hit points, but now more Pew, less QQ is in trouble. He's going to be trying to tank the towers. Goats may be able to flash away to safety. He does. Pharrell Lord is going to flash over the wall. So Alistair goes down in the background. Pharrell Lord picks up a kill now in the river. So that ends up being a 2-for-2 exchange. Support and jungler for support and jungler. So it does not get more even than that. But of course, if Alternate do manage to push down this tower, things could go wrong. Pharrell Lord may be able to pick this one up, lands the snare and the towers. That extremely weird ward placement which got put down from Lee Sin earlier in the fight secures him a kill. And Corki eats a big one with that earth underneath him.
Oh, Corky's like, what just happened? You know, that is a spot where you can be relatively sure you're going to be safe. I don't know, well, he obviously didn't notice that the ward placement was down there earlier. But, you know, if you're that far behind your turret, you're almost to your second turret. Pretty safe place to be teleporting back. There's no Ezreal on the map, there's no Enchanted Crystal Arrow, you're not going to get hit by a global ultimate, and he wasn't even, you know, that low on life either. Still had about a third of his life, but a really good job from Pharrell Lord to pick that up. I've noticed that they had that little ward there. Corki teleporting right back on it, able to take good advantage. So now we see it going to be a little bit more aggression on this blue buff. I suspect the Dragon is going to be respawning soon as well. Otherwise, I don't know why all the top laners would be down here too. But will we see another big 5v5 team fight?
Yeah, that is the question. Take a look at Foreign Lord right now as well. Rod of Age is completed, needlessly large rod in the bank, and almost enough cash to actually finish off that death cap right now. So, you know, doing so well, still out farming Morgana, is ahead in items, and once this Dragon's picked up, we may see the death cap finished outright, or potentially Sorcerer's Shoes. There's now those slowing vines that I was telling you about. They do take, I believe, 2 or 3 auto attacks before they go down, so very similar to wards, in fact. And once again, this engagement over the blue buff. So 2 dragons have gone the way of alternate. We've seen a blue buff stolen away by Unzo earlier in the game. Dark Binding eats more pew pew, less QQ. Unbreakable will actually already used by Alistair. But look at the crowd control from Forellian Lord. Completely zoning out their opponents, completely in control. And once again, we do unfortunately see a pause. Etnix also disconnecting. So we've seen Goats with disconnection problems. We've seen Etnix now with disconnection problems. It's not a good day for Team Megashock right now.
It really isn't. But, you know, despite the fact that Goats is disconnected at least twice, maybe 3 times at this point, Etnix is having issues, they're still in this game. They're only 2,500 gold down. They've been farming pretty well in every single lane. Rumble has a lot of gold saved up in the bank. Zonia's almost prepared for that Morgana. Morgana also running 2 GP10 items, so it's passively making money. Perhaps that's their strategy. Keep pausing the game. Maybe our GP10s will work while the game is paused. They do not, just for everyone's sake. That is not what is happening by any stretch of the imagination. But they do have things that can certainly turn around for them. They have that Malachi who tends to scale better into late game than does Lee Sin, mainly just because of his utility in those team fights, his ability to really engage on the opposition, build super tanky, and be really effective later on. He's building towards an Aegis, it looks like now. So there are things that can go well for Team Megashock. So far they've been really thwarted by that early aggression from Lee Sin, by those disconnect problems, and by the fact that, you know, Ultimate's been playing incredibly well themselves. They've, you know, followed the map, they've counter-ganked a number of times. Forellian Lord showing the power of Zyra, just pushing down middle, really just out-pushing Morgana, which is a thing you tend not to hear. That is something that's certainly hard to do, but Zyra did it, you know, very successfully. Just continued pushing and pushing until that middle turret went down.
Take a look at your itemization right now. Death Cap has been finished by Zyra, as we pointed out a few moments ago. Infinity Edge on Graves, and Trinity Force almost completed for Corki. So Graves is going to have that big burst damage a little bit sooner than what we're going to see from Etnex's Corki. And he's been doing very well in that bottom lane, slightly ahead on farm, got 2 dragons to his name. And now we're going to see them finishing off this bottom tower. 1 more auto attack is all that's required. 11-5 up. A couple of 1,000 gold, and Alternate looking good right now.
Yeah, they are absolutely looking good. Of course, running a couple of ringers or substitutes. Forellian Lord not in a good spot right here.
He's going to throw out those Stranglethorns. That'll knock up both Kauton and Ember Sheep. And because Ember Sheep was completely locked up from the Stranglethorns and the line CC, those plants just continually dealing damage. I think that was a fail flash, in fact, hitting the wall from Ember Sheep. That was a point-blank flash that did not go right. Goats doesn't manage to land the knock-up, unfortunately. And there comes the Unstoppable Force. Ground Slam goes out. Mooney, Law, and Unzo are going to be thinking about this one. He's going to use Safeguard up to the ward. He's going to be able to land that slow, follow it up with the Resonating Strike. Unfortunately, not this time. In the bottom lane, Corki and Alistair managed to pick up a kill onto Graves, so it's not the end of the world. But Morgana was held in place for so long that those plant towers just melted Morg's hit points. That's when Zyra's damage is good, when the towers are allowed to continue an attack. But if you don't buy the time, she's not really as bursty as some of the other AP mids.
Yeah, not as bursty, has that utility, same as Heimer, and I think there's the same scaling on the plants as there is on Heimer turrets at around 0.2 AP per hit. So, you know, has that continuous damage going for her. We've already seen the utility be used throughout the course of the game, you know, zone people out of the second dragon attempt. But, you know, when we come into late game, are we going to suddenly see a turnaround? Are we going to see Morgana become more effective? Certainly Morgana now picking up that Zhonya's doesn't have to sit in range of those plants, can go invincible for 2 seconds, and that might help, you know, withstand through the extra damage that she has been receiving thus far. We are seeing Alternate, you know, very aggressively push down the top turret as well, so they're continuing their aggression. Ooh, that Dark Binding barely missed Sebastian. That looked a little bit dangerous for Graves there, but he is going to be safe. And a 6-2 Zyra, a 2-1 Malphite, and a 2-1 Graves. So all the carry champions are doing very, very well at this point in the game.
And of course, we were pointing out very early on how Corki had the advantage. Corki had the lead in that bottom lane. And look how it's turned around. 182 CS to 213. Admittedly, Corki does have an additional kill to his name, but 2 turrets down, 2 dragons down. Total gold is quite a big difference. Sheep was trying to duel Unzo, and I think if he uses his full combo, could actually win this one out quite effectively. Now that Maika is joining the party, are we going to see an equalizer coming out? A long-range twisted advance goes through the grass. This will be a great time to use that equalizer. Immediately followed up. Crescendo locks up all 3 members of Ultimate. The Vengeful Maelstrom is now down, and that is a good equalizer for Sheep. It's going to be ticking away the hit points as much as possible. It next manages to steal away both of those double buffs from killing the Blind Monk. A lot of abilities used and a lot of spells, but they've managed to give double buff. Zyra has now dealt a lot of damage, but just gets deleted from the focus of Team Megashock. In the background, though, the true damage once again closing off the kill onto Morgana. I did not even see the animation. I just seen Morgana fall over and die.
Saw that little vine dart kill Morgana. Coutard must be really upset because Coutard took a ton of damage initially from the, you know, just the initial burst from Zyra and a couple of plants there. Even through the black shield, got bursted down, got caught in the grasping roots beforehand, and so then had to sit there and wait out that plant damage, and then of course that and the combined true damage at the end was enough to take down Morgana. And Morgana's like, man, I wasn't even in that fight. I didn't land a Dark Binding. I still have Soul Shackles. I still have Flash. I still have Ignite. I have all these things still in my repertoire, including Zhonya's, but just did not survive. And certainly we could have seen a Flash come out, a Zhonya's come out to save them from that ultimate of Frelin Lord, but a really good job by Frelin Lord to aim it. And I don't even think he had vision into that bush, so good job in every sort of respect. Things still going incredibly well for Alternate. You know, in kind of unusual ways. You know, that's the 2nd kill pickup, at least the 2nd kill pickup by that ultimate from Zyra, might even be the 3rd one. So really great use of that so far, and we're going to see a big engagement here coming down at this dragon. So
Moonilol does eat a Dark Binding to the face. He's got a pretty interesting item build as well. Chalice of Harmony and that Warden's Mail working towards the Randian's Omen eventually. But the long-range poke is pretty strong. Both Sona and Alisson are going to provide sort of AoE sustain to both teams. Goats has now moved in to start clearing out some wards. Headbutt, Pulverize combo. It's both of the jungles moving in. The Equalizer goes down. In the background, Soul Shackles is there. Countside is a little bit out of position. He manages to take down Zyra. He's going to pop that Zhonya's Hourglass. Now the true damage is going to put some decent DPS. While all of that is going on, Corki manages to pick up the last hit onto the Blind Monk. The Bull is going to go down. The Horns were not strong enough. Graves was able to close out Morgana, but that was a 2 versus 1 up in that top lane, while the rest of Team Alternate was just crumbled. Compliments of Team Megashock, and a 1-for-4 trade in what is looking like going to be Baron buff. That I would take any day of the week.
Yeah, so everything just turns around for Team Megashock in that fight. Now they have the potential for taking this Baron. Malphite's not really going to be able to do that much. Doesn't have Unstoppable Force. Does have Ignite, but probably will not even get there in time. Now this is going down relatively fast. They don't have the best Baroning team by any stretch of the imagination, but they're certainly going to be able to get it done. A really good job swapping up the damage. We see Steve running in there. Steve's like, oh, I'm at full life. I'll tank it a little while. You know, get it off my carries, as it were. So really good showing. And that is what Morgana can do for you late game. We see her landing the Soul Shackles on Zyra and on Graves, and essentially, you know, it takes down Zyra completely. It bursts Zyra out of the fight. Then we see Graves, you know, still fighting, you know, still wanting to do damage, had to quick draw away to get out of the Soul Shackles range, but then, you know, suddenly wants to kill Morgana. Morgana just pops the, the Zhonya's Hourglass and really just keeps Graves out of the fight for a long time. And, that is a Baron for Team Megashock. We do see Alternate, kind of negating the gold lead, or actually, increasing their own gold lead by picking up that dragon, but it's so close now, only 2,000 gold, and for the next, good 5 minutes, Baron buff will be on Team Megashock, and they will have a huge advantage in these team fights, and we just saw, that last team fight went in their favor incredibly. Corki picking up a lot of those kills is now 6-2, so that is a big advantage they have on their side, that, he is picking up those kills. He is 44 down in farm, in so far as the overall gold goes, Graves is still ahead, but at least Corki was able to catch up with those kills.
And it's interesting to see how Morgana did that. She dove past everybody, threw the soul shackles up, managed to take the first bit of damage on I think 3 or 4 members of Alternates, and then just carried on pressing forward and just went, you know what, I want Zyra. It was pretty apparent that Coutard was not going to allow Ferenlord to get into that team fight and use his abilities. So just carried on pushing, and then compliments of the damage and a little bit of fear from both Graves and Zyra. It ended up being, a 2 versus 1, but then a 4 versus 3 down in the bottom half of the map. So great play from Megashock. There's that line snare coming out from Ferenlord that is maxed up. It has been maxed out second for the Deadly Bloom, and finally the Rampant Growth is going to be the final ability to get maxed.
Alternate has to be careful because this tower does not have very much life. They could get flash. There is no flash on Maokai, so no flash twisted advance. The turret does just go down. Was excited about the potential of another team battle immediately following the previous one.
Megashock need to be very careful. They don't have the ability, or their opposing team is very strong if they want to do a tower dive. Unstoppable force, the pulverize and the Stranglethorns rather. That's a lot of wide area CC that I don't think they can afford to take underneath the tower. They're not that strong or that further ahead with the Baron buff to be able to put themselves in a position like that.
Yeah, my general rule of thumb is, Baron buff stronger than outer turrets, so I always feel like, oh, you can dive if you want to, but it puts you at an equal footing. So if you're not, if you're not ahead before you get the Baron buff, then you're probably not going to win that team fight either, especially against, a team composition, as you mentioned, with so many knockups, so much CC coming down from Team Alternate. And really, I think that's the way that Team Megashock has to fight these battles, is to allow Morgana to try to zone people out, because that's what she is great at as the game goes on, really is able to zone people out, and, not necessarily kill people in the battle, but zone them out, do a good chunk of damage, kind of be the initiator, an AP that is an initiator, and then if they fall, so be it, that happens.
So 16-13 in terms of kills, 1,000 gold difference between these teams. You can actually see how that gold equals out if you look at the bottom half of your screen. These little plants, they just get stepped on and squashed. Dark Binding goes out, just missing for Ferenlord there. And we'll have to see if Megashock continue to push. I don't want to say the word wasted this Baron buff, but the timer has gone down. They haven't picked any additional fights. And, when you consider Megashock was a little bit behind, then, that balanced it out effectively. I'm going to carry on seizing this tower, and if they group up too tightly, there comes the unstoppable force that I was worried about. Stranglethorns are going to lock everybody up as well. This is just a cluster of spell effects. The spell damage from the Equalizer is out, and the first one to go down will in fact be Malphite. Now as Megashock are on the way back, Ember Sheep is going to get deleted and blown sky high. You'll see Rumble hitting the ground next to Sebastian. The true damage nuke goes out. That ends up being a 2-for-2 trade. But I definitely think Alternate wanted to come out a little further ahead than they actually did. No Resonating Strike is going to be followed up, and if Corki can get in there, everybody is so low. The damage from both teams is just huge. That's a Shirelia's Reverie. Steve is trying to get himself or Coutard in a position where they can deal some damage, and Corki has actually recalled. I just seen him disappear. I didn't actually see where he went. But a big fight for both sides, and everybody caught in everything.
Yeah, it was a great fight. I mean, I love the initiation coming down from Malphite. I just expected it to be a little bit more effective. Like, there was the initiation, but everyone was still alive following it. Morgana then was like, okay, well, everyone's initiating on me, got a pretty good Soul Shackles off, was able to get that Zhonya's Hourglass going, and that did a lot of damage in return. So, good showing from each side. And now we do see an Iron of Solari, Locket of Iron Solari pickup from Sona. And this is an item that historically I really dislike. I don't feel like it's very gold efficient. I feel like by the time you have to buy it, it gives some useless stats, or not useless, but, you know, unnecessary stats. For instance, it gives, you know, allied champions 15 health regen per 5 seconds. And that's nice when you're sieging a turret, but for the most part in teamfights, you know, that regeneration isn't what you need, and you don't really build it until you get to the team fighting stage. But what it does do is give that shield. So at this point, you know, 50 plus 10 per level, so that's 140. So it'll be 190 shield for everyone on their team, and I feel like that's good against this team in particular because they kind of telegraph their burst. You'll be seeing that Malphite coming, followed up by that Alistar, and you should be able to, you know, lock that Iron of, you know, Solari, lock it down, and allow for that shield really to do its work. So in that case, good pickup, good pickup. And we're going to see the teams dance a little bit more. Only 700 gold separates them 35 minutes into the game. So that is incredible, and it makes for an exciting game, and I'm really happy to see that Team Megashack kind of overcame their early disadvantage with those disconnects, with the issues that they were having.
So still a little bit behind in terms of gold. You've mentioned the items, but take a look at Rumble now. The Negatron Cloak has been sitting there for a little while. Do you anticipate that being built into an Abyssal Scepter? You know, he's had that magic resistance for a little while.
I mean, certainly it wouldn't be a bad pickup, but they already have the Abyssal Scepter on Morgana, and I have a feeling that, you know, they don't really need those two items. I'm pretty certain they will not stack on enemies. We are seeing a nice bait out here.
Really huge damage, crescendo just for Zyra, in fact. Didn't really hit too many other members. There comes the Soul Shackles. Is going to be broken by every single member of Team Alternate. That little smiling face is chasing more Pew Pew. And he does manage to get away, but the Baron is up, so if Team Megashark can pick this Baron up and then push forward, another Dark Binding is great onto Newbie Lol. He may be forced to use that ultimate of his just to escape. Ember Sheep is going to use that Scrap Heap Shield and keep chasing down Alistar. Newbie Lol's the next one that's in trouble. Does manage to juke past the Dark Binding from Coutard. While all of that is going on, Lee Sin is setting up to try and steal this Baron buff, and Lee Sin is one of the strongest champions to do so, has landed the Sonic Wave very wisely from Megashark. They wait for it to disconnect. Now Anzo a little bit out of position, but he should be able to safely recall. Graves is trying to split push on the bottom line, but great positioning from Megashark, and they just completely caught Alternate out of place.
Yeah, and they're all going to go back and buy, which is not terrible, because Graves is also going to go back and buy. So Graves is not going to be able to pick up that turret, is going to push. It's going to, you know, allow the minions to do some damage on that turret, but nothing is going to come of it. So yeah, once again, Team Megashock really setting up, really able to control the team fights. In that case, Freljord, you know, was kind of ahead of the pack, was ahead of the group, running out there, got caught by that Dark Binding, caught by the Crescendo, got instantly deleted from the fight, and then it was a 5v4 without the AP carry. That's not a fight you want to go into. Of course, Alternate didn't really go into it. They did also lose Alistar because they're just trying to get wards out there, trying to get some sight on the Baron, but that is a dangerous thing to do. So now Team Megashock going to run back into this battle, 5 Baron buffs on their team. What will they decide to do? I mean, that bottom turret, that initial bottom turret is still up, so that is free gold to be had. That is something certainly I would be focusing on if I was Team Megashock. Let's get that turret. It's been there for far too long. It's a kind of a signal that our bottom lane wasn't doing too great. I want to erase that off the map. I want to feel confident. I want to be able to take that down, get that 150 gold, and, you know, then continue our push onwards.
And it does look like Rumble is actually working towards that Abyssal. So we do have the Negatron and that Blasting Wand on board. Or I suppose it could potentially be a Will of the Ancients.
It could be a Woda as well.
Yeah, it could also be a Wota. So that's a possibility. Take a look at the rest of the items. Quicksilver Sash, in fact, on Maokai. And we see Corki opting to go for a Zeal as opposed to any defensive stats right now. So Corki very confident in his positioning, very confident in his team play. Admittedly, he is 8-2-2, so you know, I can't really be saying too much about it, but I would like to see some more defensive items from Corki, especially because if Alternate decide to jump on top of him, the burst from Rumble and Morgana are going to be good, but Corki really needs to survive the duration of the fight and land a lot of auto attacks in order for his team to be victorious in these big engagements.
Yeah, he just has to be really careful not to get Unstoppable forced on top of, because that, could potentially be the end of him. Unstoppable Force into Ignite, Ground Slam, that is enough to take out about a third of his life, and so any other ancillary damage that comes on will, essentially finish him. Morgana doing a really good job landing some of those Dark Bindings. Unso still is worse for wear for it, as is Frelin Lord. They're doing a good job in kind of, battling off this attack, and so Team Megashock's finally is going to be like, okay, you guys win. You guys can keep that turret for now. We're going to go ahead and push bottom. One thing I really like from Frelin Lord is that Lich Bane pickup. I feel like champions, unfortunately, for whatever reason, players will not play champions in a way to pick up Lich Bane unless the AP ratios are not very stellar. Whereas I feel like Lich Bane is a great addition to just about any AP champion. So it is being picked up, perhaps because he felt like damage was lacking, but it's going to mean that Frelin Lord, with her auto attacks, can essentially double those AP ratios every 2-3 seconds. Get an extra little attack out there that's going to be augmented by the full amount of AP on Frelin Lord, and that's 513, so that is a lot of extra damage.
You see, there goes the AoE. Vengeful Maelstrom actually casted by Maokai there. Admittedly, he's on a very, very low cooldown, so just trying to mitigate as much damage as possible. Now they're going to try seize this bottom tower. Baron is up and is about to wear off, so that regen is about to disappear. We'll see whether or not Megashock are going to be able to force this next big engagement. You can see Morgana, she does both have Flash, Ignite, and Soul Shackles available, so we may actually see a flash into Soul Shackles. It is possible there. Rylai's Crystal Scepter has been sitting on Embassy for a little while, so a good equalizer could slow the members of Alternate down. And we see huge clusters right now. Moonilol is going to eat a Dark Binding to the face, gets dropped a little bit of hit points, and it's just a poke battle right now between these teams.
Yeah, Team Megashock was winning, but now they suddenly don't have Baron anymore, so they're not going to have that extra regen, and they weren't really making a lot of progress on the turret, so we can add that to Zyra's repertoire of things she's great at. Pushing and defending turrets is pretty good at that, but Frelin Lord was getting low, did get caught by at least one of those Dark Bindings, and then a little bit of extra damage, but everyone's just going to be able to head back now, and nothing going to come of it from either side. A securing of the blue buff from Alternate, and that means, a little bit more of a standoff, and we might see Team Megashock finally going to pick up a dragon. I believe that they've lost out all the previous dragons, if I'm not mistaken. I do remember Alternate picking up the dragon after the initial Baron from Team Megashock. So they are going to get this little extra gold. They're only 1,500 gold up now. It's going to be 2,500 gold, after that dragon, which happened as I was saying it. But they've been proving that in the team fights they've had better positioning, they've had better initiates. So something has to change for Alternate. They have to, make the next team fight happen on their terms. They really need the Unstoppable Force to be used as the aggression tool, the aggressive, the initiator. Whereas, previously, they really need that, and they really need it on Corki too, who you mentioned. No defensive items. 6 items, none defensive.
Alright, so we're just busy waiting for this game to finish. I'm just reading the admin chat, sorry to interrupt. Eclipsia versus Millennium, their game lobby is up and ready, so once this match is over, we will be jumping into the last game of the evening. Now make sure you stick around. But items completed, and we were both wrong. No Abyssal Scepter, no Will of the Ancients. It has in fact gone to an Abyssal Scepter. The Void Staff, sorry. So Rumble really wanting to play aggressive, really wanting to pick up those DPS items. And it appears Morgana's walking towards her death cap, and she actually has the goal to finish the Rabadon's death cap now as well. So Morgana is now terrifying as well, terrifyingly strong. Still has those GP10s ticking. And I'd like to see the DFG coming up, because then the burst is just going to be over 9,000.
I would love to see the DFG come up. I would also, at this point, love to see Morgana sell her Philosopher's Stone, because I don't think she, is necessarily going to build a Shurelia's Reverie, and so she could, get some gold back. It isn't very much. You can only get 400 gold back from it, but it's better than just, an empty item sitting there. And I tend to see, pro players really hold on to all those GP items for a really, really long time, and this next fight is going to be big. We are seeing Baron Cup, and we see all these little traps there. Freljord really trying to create a, gap towards that Baron.
And very nice use of the Black Shield. They're putting that on Goats, getting him to take out as many of those little traps as possible. Now they're going to keep moving back. We see a little bit of a poke between Zyra and Sona there through the wall. But there goes a good dog binding onto Malphite, but that's not who they want to jump onto. That's not who they want to commit onto the fight. Maokai is going to dive and follow up for a flash. Unstoppable force on the right-hand side, followed up by Radiant's Omen. Rumble immediately deletes Forellenlord from this fight. Next is going to be Anzo, so the plant and the monk are now down. Double kill for our super powerful Rumble. Morgana is going to give up her life with that one, and a very nice pulverize from Alistair locks up a couple of members, while Malphite is going to potentially get away. Zhonya's Hourglass is popped from the little Yordle. That gives him kill number 3. That is going to be the 4th kill going to Corki, but a triple kill for Ember Sheep, potentially another Baron, or instead they might just chase down this tower. Ember Sheep realizes he has less health than originally anticipated and is forced to run away from the tower after taking a couple of hits.
And not a ton of armor either. He's like, oh my goodness, it's hitting me again. So I mean, I feel like they could have taken a quick Baron there. Now they can go back. They had a lot of time, so they kind of had their pick of the litter of what they wanted to do. They decided, okay, well, I'm going to get a turret, and then we're going to go for Baron. But now they're pretty low as they're going for this Baron. Probably a good strategy because Malphite might have been able, well, no, Malphite really couldn't have defended that outer turret on his own either. So really just a matter of preference, getting the turret before the Baron attempt, and now they have that Baron. So really taking another fight, and it was just a matter of Freljord kind of getting caught out by that twisted advance, really put himself into a position. We saw Graves sitting very, very far in the background, not wanting to get engaged on, but, when the twisted advance went on Freljord, the equalizer followed it and actually caught Graves in it as well. Really good job once again from Morgana going to those back lines, and we saw a good ultimate come down from Malphite. The ultimate, the Unstoppable Force, Ground Slam, and Seismic Shard combination took about 2/3 of the life from Corki, and that is without Ignite. But unfortunately, he was the only one back there, and after he, put out that burst, he's like, okay, well, I don't have anything really to add to this fight, so he kind of backed off. Then Lee Sin came in, but Lee Sin was able to be, pretty quickly burst down by Sona, and Corki, was the only one caught by the Crescendo, I'm pretty sure, but it was enough, it was a good use of the Crescendo just because it allowed Corki to really quickly dispatch of Lee Sin, not take really any damage from him, and then move on back towards the group fight. So far we've seen Team Megashock with really great team fight positioning, and unfortunately we can't really say the same from Alternate so far.
So the gold lead is now 7,000 in advantage of Megashock. That small, close numbers, 2k difference has finally started to grow. Take a look at how Ember Sheep has played that Rumble. He has sold his Hextech Revolver and picked up a Rabadon's Death Cap outright. Went back with over 3,600 gold in the bank. Huge amounts of cash. I love the itemization coming out from Maokai. Randian's Open, Frozen Heart, Aegis of the Legion, the Quicksilver Sash, and potentially a Shurelia's. That Philo Stone has been sitting there for quite a while, so we'll see what is going to rank up there. How many Aura items do we actually have on behalf of Alternate? Randians, Shurelia's, and an Aegis. So pretty much mirrored right now, but of course Maokai is going to offer more utility, compliments of that Vengeful Maelstrom.
Yeah, the Vengeful Maelstrom and that Frozen Heart, which is such a big item. It is a big ticket item to reduce all the auto attack speed. And it's such a great cost-efficient item for any tank. I remember there was a game where actually, it was a serious game, but Wicked was pretty far ahead. Oh man, Corki gets caught out by those grasping roots there, but they're, not even willing to engage on him. He still has no defensive items, so I mean, I think that's important to note. At any point, if he is caught out, he can potentially get insta-burst down in a team fight, and he is the consistent damage. He and Rumble certainly are the brunt of it there, so these fights still can be turned around for Alternate, but they're in a kind of desperate situation here. Graves had that Guardian Angel, of course, was used in that last battle, and I've seen chat mentioning, oh, why'd you pick up, oh dear,
take
Rumble
a look
is
at
caught
that
out.
Ember Sheep just gets deleted. That was really nicely done from Lee Sin, putting himself in front of Rumble, then using the Dragon's Rage kick to kick them all the way backwards. So really nicely done. They do have a minute on the clock to potentially push down this this map objectives, but there's nothing really available to take. There's no close towers to take out. Dragon is available for pickup, but they're going to need more than a dragon to pull themselves into this game. And by the time they get to this interior turret, we should see Mega Shock in position to defend.
Yeah, I mean, they can defend, but it is an outer turret. They are down a man. You know, ultimates are all still up. Outside of that dragon's range, they still have unstoppable force, so they can potentially dive in here.
And we do see the engagement. Goats is going to be able to get headbutted backwards and then immediately follows it up with a flash, so does get away with his life. It costs him a summoner spell, but at least one more tower in favor of Team Alternate. Now they can actually steal away the blue buff and potentially move down to the dragon as well. That should get deleted pretty quickly. And that little Malphite animation being headbutted and immediately flashed was pretty interesting to watch.
Yes, and Graves actually had to burn his cleanse as well. Got caught by a dark binding, you know, let it tick down for a while, but then, you know, suddenly had a moment of panic, I suppose, where he did use that cleanse. I saw in chat, you know, people were complaining about the Lichbane pickup. Of course, if that was the Zonias a little bit earlier on, perhaps Zyra would be able to, you know, use the Zonias and sustain throughout these team fights a little bit better. We see, you know, a full aggression build, Void Staff, Lichbane, Death Cap, Rod of Ages, and now just a blue potion as well to add to the repertoire, but no defensive items, I mean, outside of the Rod of Ages. We see a quick ultimate.
Yeah, Strangle Force goes out and doesn't manage to catch anybody. It did almost catch Morgana, but the Black Shield was up, and I don't think it dealt any damage at all. Taking a look at these little plant things at the moment, not dealing very much damage at all. I mean, you know, 144 armor on Sona, not necessarily the highest of numbers, but those little, that single grass root, if you want to call it, not dealing too much DPS alone, but of course they can be grouped up, and that's where the damage from Zyra becomes very strong.
Yeah, so I mean, both teams here, I feel like they have an equal chance of winning this next team fight. Of course, there is a 6,000 gold lead from Team Mega Shock, but they're being aggressive, so you know, at this point in time, Alternate has the turret to fall back to, and they still have really great initiating capacity with that Malphite. And, you know, they haven't been able to take down Corki in these team fights. I'm pretty sure both of those kills are from the early laning phase, both of those 2 deaths on Corki. But if they do combine, you know, properly, they can potentially take him out very, very fast. It's just a matter of catching him with Unstoppable Force, and then just someone has to hit him just a tiny bit more, do a little bit more damage to him, and then he'll be going down. What is Rumble built up to? Does have that Sunfire, does have that Abyssal. Looks like he's going to be building some more armor, and perhaps an Athene's Unholy Grail eventually down the line, but I don't think he's going to be rushing towards that by any means. We do finally see actually a Guardian Angel picked up on Corki. So now it's not simply a matter of let's get to Corki, let's burst him down. Now they're going to have to, you know, get to Corki, kill his team, make sure he doesn't respawn, and have full protection still.
Yeah, so they're facing off effectively against 6 champions right now. Admittedly, Graves does have that Guardian and has had it for a little bit of time, but he just isn't able to stand in the back line and rain down hell for quite as long as Corki's able to. You know, Rumble, the damage and the crowd control that Rumble, Morgana, Maokai, and Sona offer, it's just such a good protection for the AD carry. Are we going to see Alternate face checking once again and potentially going down? Anzo is going to eat a Dark Binding. Are we going to see a commitment here? Drop to less than half health just from a little bit of poke. Compliments of that ward. Good vision from Mega Shock. Do you see those grasping roots going out? But the
thing is, Alternate still has a ward in the Baron pit, so they know they don't have to engage right here. And you know, okay, now Team Mega Shock finally sees it. They see the reason probably why they haven't been engaged on yet, and they're going to try to rush this Baron down, but, you know, they know it's happening. Alternate knows it is happening. 6,000
HP on Baron. It is going to start ticking up in the background. You can see that health bar. There's some big damage onto Kaltzard. He eats one of those plant seedlings to the face. In actual fact, it was just the shield being hit down, not his actual hit point total. So do you see this little Mexican standoff, this poke battle once again, and it's going to come down to skill shots. Who is going to get caught? It's a little bit of delay on that Alistair Dark Binding. But at the moment, it just feels like Megashock are a little bit further in the driving seat with their composition, with the fact that they can effectively win these team fights. And there's no Oracle's Elixir and Alternate. There is one on Alistair, so he's going to start clearing out that ward. Finally, they see it. Been dancing around there for quite a while. But I like this from Megashock. They see that there's an open tower.
Base race!
Megashock are going to recall.
Yeah, they have to, because they, of course, had 2 turrets to take down just to the compared 1 from Alternate. And now Alternate's probably going to be able to take this one down, and then they're going to, be in a fight. Morgana will actually be into it late, so Alternate could have continued the battle there. I think they still had sight on Morgana. They decided to back off, so they have that turret. So that is, a pretty big advantage for them. So now, at any point, if Team Megashock tries to, force the Baron, bait the Baron, Alternate can instead just be like, we're going to rush down middle. We're going to take out that inhibitor. So really great showing from them. Team Megashock, as you mentioned, they had a pretty good plan of their own. Oh, let's just go take this turret instead. Thought it was a free turret, but of course they knew they were going to lose the base race, so they did have to back on out.
And take a look at the gold right now. 2,000 gold in the bank for Graves, Alistair, and Malphite. 1,400 for Zyra. That's a lot of unspent money, which they cannot afford to fall back on right now because it will cost them Baron. But there is a huge wave pushing on this bottom lane as well.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, they just kind of have to wait it out. They don't have any vision at this point, so Team Megashock is really sitting in the captain's seat. They have vision. They know everything that's happening.
Shirelia's Reverie comes out. There comes the Twisted Advance. That's going to hold Forever Lord in place. The Crescendo, not necessarily the greatest, and unfortunately, Kowtow Soul Shackles does not manage to land the stun onto anybody. An amazing Pulverize knocks up 4 members of Megashock, but now they've turned their attention over to the Bulls. Zyra, Malphite, Alistair, all fall in quick succession. Double kill for Corki, another one for Sona in the background. Finally, Maokai chimes in with one of his own. Team Ace, and look at the hit point totals on that team. Look at how healthy they are in that engagement. And that is what Team Megashock needed to do, and this is going to be GG. Well played to the mostly Nordic team of Megashock.
Really well played. And yeah, once it came down to those team fights, that combination was just so strong, and I think what it came down to is the Maokai initiates were just really, really effective, and there wasn't anything to fall back on. They decided, okay, we're just going to keep on initiating on Freljord. That was our strategy, for the last 3 team fights, and it worked every single time, because even if they weren't able to initially kill her, like in that last fight, Freljord did get away, had to burn flash, backed out, but she wasn't able to add the amount of damage that you would hope, didn't ever use Ignite in that fight, and then got burst down by Rumble, who eventually picked her off, but essentially just completely zoned her out of the battle the entire time. So really, really good showing, and we will be moving on to our next match very shortly here.
Yep, that is correct.